Hello and welcome to another episode of Not a Life Sentence. My guest today is a living example of resilience and that hard work and commitment pay off. He didn't have the healthiest home environment in his foundational years. His father battled an undiagnosed bipolar disorder, and his mother had no empathy due to her childhood traumas. My guest has done it all, was bullied at school, went into coma for 2 weeks at the age of 9 after being hit by a car, and got told he may never be able to play soccer again. He proved them wrong. He did drugs, all types. He partied like there was no tomorrow. He's made and lost millions of dollars and was able to recover. He's Danish and currently lives in Spain. Now, he wakes up at 4:30 a.m. for a cold bath, reads the Bible, journals, goes to the gym, does not drink alcohol, nor does drugs anymore. Mike Radoor, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Wow, thank you so much for that introduction. I almost got tears in my eyes because it's a
Yes.
touching story for myself. Yeah, it's the transformation I've been in has been a very emotional process, which it still is. So thank you so much, and I'm good, thank you. Yeah,
You've had a life and you are still under 40, aren't you? You're
I
not
am.
40 yet.
No, no, I just turned 39, so I still have one more
Yeah.
year left until the big breakthrough.
Mike, what do you do and how do you serve and support people?
So after you introduced me quite well, and I had, you know, plenty of breakdowns caused by myself in my life. I started to rebuild myself through self-development books, self-help books, and sooner or later they didn't work any longer. It was more like surface problem solving. It wasn't the root. So I seeked into more spirituality, and on that journey, I discovered a methodology and kind of ideas that was ancient, and it came back from where the Bible was originated from, and the Stoics, and where we had Buddhism, where we had the old Japanese wisdom. So what I do today is I help people rebuild themselves. So you can be in any kind of situation of your life. Typically, it's males who is going through a breakup or has had a stop in their business, or they have lost their purpose, or they're stuck somehow. And they come to me, and I help them rebuild themselves, implement some very simple strategies that over time will just do a compound effect for increasing your self-worth and kind of surrendering yourself into something bigger, so you're not so judgmental to others or yourself.
Mike, I find it amazing that I got in touch with you 2 days ago and you said to me, today is a good day. Do you always make quick decisions?
Yes, I do, and that has both served me and punished me. But in all reality, that's what my spirit is. My spirit is very quick, and it's very naive, and it's very playful, and I let it play. So once I was a little scared of those quick decisions, of course I have set up life principles and rules in my life, so I don't let it run off the
Oh,
charts. I still have to play the game of life. But in all reality, I believe everything, all the choices that we make in our life, is there to serve us for a learning. So my quickness is my special gift.
and I totally agree because I am quick at doing what I think about. And some people call me or say that I do rush into things, but I don't believe so because I believe that I know what I want. So when I see something that I want, I will, of course, do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mike, whoever follows you on social media knows that you are a straightforward person. There's
Yeah.
no BS with you. There's no sugar coating. Some people need this, or I think we all need it, but can we handle the truth? Can we handle someone being that honest? Someone saying to us, happiness is in your hands. Get off your ass and do something about it.
Well, yes, the answer is that everyone can handle it. Because at
Yes.
some point, yes, of course, at some point in your life, you have been forced to handle it. So the answer is yes, you can handle it. If is everyone willing to handle it? That's a more direct question. And the answer is no, of course not. It's all reality that the older we get as humans, the more offended we get of our weaknesses being held up as a mirror in our face, because we kind of do self-deception and living in a delusional world where we kind of want to be somewhere, but we don't have any expectations to go there. So our actions are not aligned with our desires. And then it's easier to just lie to ourselves and say that I'm doing the best I can, or I'm thinking about my vision every day, or I'm trying really hard, in all reality, you're not. And that truth is very painful. And the reason why I'm using that vocabulary and that triggering communication is for those who really, really are close to want that help. I want them to tip before they do what I did, because there's no reason for going through all that pain that I went through to finally realize, shit, I need a change. And so that's a strategic approach to be honest. And I never talk about, this one thing I made a rule to myself. I never want to say stuff that people cannot change. So there's no reason,
Right.
because that will be evil, that will be cruel. So we can all change our attitude. We can all change our weight. So everything that is within our control, that is what I
Oh.
am talking about on my social media.
What do your clients say to you? Do they thank you for your honesty?
Yeah, they do. Of course, when I market myself, that's a strategy. When I'm coaching people, I'm not as aggressive as I seem to be on social media, but I am
Okay.
as honest. So they thank me for calling them out on their own lies. So my job is to call them out, not to guide them with say you should do this instead. I'm not saying that. I'm coaching them. So that's questionnaires, and that is kind of, I give them questions to open up their own awareness. That's what I do. But if they excuse themselves, and again, remember, people come to me with a goal. So
Oh.
their result is my goal, and I don't care if they like me. And the reason
Oh.
why I say I don't care if they like me is because I have coached 3,000 people between 2000 and 2023. I had a business where I was coaching, together with my team, we were coaching a lot of people in lifestyle changes. And at that time, we were sugarcoating them. We were begging them to live up to their own commitments, and most of them failed. So I had to make a conclusion, which was too much kindness will breathe the lack of accountability. So if I'm too kind to you, they won't work as hard. And that's why I really make an effort in being very honest to them regarding the path they are choosing to walk on, so they can see it clearly.
Uh, my success has never been far from you. In high school, you had a great idea that turned into a 400 million euro now. What can you, or how would you explain it? You were in high school, you were still a teenager.
Yeah, so the short of the long story was that I was never interested in the lectures of this traditional school, until I figured what I could use it for. So in high school, there was an arrangement for us students where we could kind of attend a national competition of coming up with an idea, and we should
Oh.
create a business out of that, and we should go to the bank and they will give us 300 euros, and we should try to create as much as we could, and then we had to compete. And that kind of was my first step into entrepreneurship, where I figured, oh shit, wow, actually now I can use what I'm learning in the finance part. I can use what I learned. And then I started actually to study hard and understand it. And that idea, because I loved it so much, there was so much love into it, that turned into this business later on in life. So after high school, I pursued to be an accountant or an auditor, and that wasn't me. I didn't feel good with that. Then I was moving to another city, and I started working as a phone. I was just selling phones in a shop. And then I started on Copenhagen Business University. And at the same time, I also had a bartender job. Then I got promoted as a bartender into a club manager. And at that time, one of my high school friends called me and said, and he was my best friend, Mike, I'm so tired of being in this accountant industry. That idea you had from high school, shouldn't we make that a reality? And I said, let's do it. And we started working on that again, and we borrowed money in the bank. And within 8, 9 months, we were almost going bankrupt. We didn't know how to make it fly. And then I met, through my nightlife work, I met a big businessman in Denmark who invited me to Miami, and I introduced him for the idea, and they invested in us, and that turned into be a big business.
Oh. You have lived in more than 10 countries. Have you been to Australia?
I've never been to Australia. Can you believe it?
Well, it is a far away country, isn't it?
It is. You guys are very far away, but that's on my bucket list for sure.
So, really, what we have been saying that from an early age, you had signs that you are going to be successful. And you were successful at a very young age, even though you had been through ups and downs, and you were able, to lose money and then to recover it back. But let's talk about people who haven't shown signs of resilience yet, whether they are in their teen years or whether they are in their early adulthood. Can they still make it, even if they haven't shown signs of it?
Yes, absolutely. Everyone can. Everyone
Yeah.
can make it. Yeah, you just need one new idea to change your entire identity. So that's what you need. You need one idea to change everything in you. And now people will all ask, what is that idea? And that is the hard one to answer. So what that idea is very hard to say. But one thing for sure
Hmm.
is that if you're not hanging around with people who has this, I call it high level of frequency, or have this ambitions of striving towards something for whatever that reason be. You can be running away from something or running towards something or both, which is the best catalyst for that. But if you hang around with people who are satisfied, afraid, doing the absolute minimum to survive, and kind of killing their own ambitions, well, then there's a big opportunity for you to become nothing, nothing.
Yep.
But if you, in the opposite way of looking at it, if you hang with people who has ambitions, and it could also be like myself. I grew up in relatively poverty in Denmark. We weren't rich, we weren't poor, so we were working class. And I just met people that had more means than me when I was in my young age, and I was frustrated that I couldn't have a birthday like they had. And so
Hmm.
I got my desire from just becoming aware that others had it. And that's how mine started. So
Wow.
people can, in any age of their life, come to a point where they find a reason for doing stuff that is difficult. Because in all reality, what we programmed to do as human beings, as Homo sapiens, which is our race of humans, is 200 to 300,000 years old. Our brain is that old, and you can imagine, Carla, waking up 200 to 300,000 years back. That would not be a pleasant experience. You would wake up to a different world, and
Mhm.
you would have to survive some things that we didn't know what to do with. So our survival mechanism, which is seeking towards comfort, is today our biggest opponent. And that's
Hmm.
why there's a guy called Michael Easter who wrote a book, which is called The Comfort Crisis, where he talks about that environment we are living in now, which is the last 100 years, that our environment has become incredible convenient, incredible comfortable versus that time. So we are getting lost in that, which is explains really well why people overindulge in comfortable things. So this is what people have to learn and understand. Life is not easy, but you can make it easy. But then I learned again in spirituality that the road to hell feels like heaven, while the road to heaven feels like hell. So success is not supposed to be a comfortable procedure, because you have
Hmm.
to break your own limitations and levels of comfort, which is a big part of my coaching as well.
Hmm. In Buddhism, they say in their seven noble truths, pain exists. And once we accept it, we are going to live happier.
Yes,
Whereas now, when something happens to us, of course, we get sad, but also we get shocked.
yes,
Really? This happened to me? As if we are immune.
yes.
Weren't you scared of rejection? Because I think we all have got ideas, but I think what stops us is the fear of being rejected. You didn't have it?
Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes. I was bullied a lot, and I grew up. So I was kind of, you could say, I was programmed and trained to be resilient of not being accepted, and I was having an urge of feeling loved. As you introduced, at my home was not a place where I got that fulfilling love that I was needing as a kid. So I
Mm.
seeked it elsewhere. And when I didn't get that, I kind of just invented other coping mechanisms, and that was just becoming the best at something, which is what I did. So, because if I became really good at soccer, then at least the parents would like me, and then the kids would invite me. So that was my strategy, which was a stressful strategy to continue with all your life. But the fear of rejection lives in all of us. Again, it's a survival mechanism. It's 200,000 years ago, if you were rejected, that
Mm.
was equal to death. So it's a very normal thing. But and people will always ask me, Mike, what is the path out of the fear? And then I have to go back to Epictetus and Seneca and all the Stoics and say, well, the obstacle is the way. The challenge is the way. You have to go through it. There's no other way.
Mm.
You can't go around it. You have to face your fears. And, there's ways you can train that. Just, for example, by just instead of validating yourself on external events, you can validate yourself on your own values and your own principles.
Within.
And that's what I did late in my life, because what really was my ultimate destruction was my urge for being accepted, which drove
Yep.
me on to party and have random sex with too many people and party and all this stuff. So I was just trying to seek that validation. But while today I wake up and I decide who I am, and that decision is an intention, and that intention feeds an action, and that's it. Action becomes a loop of repeated confirmation of who I am. And now I know who I am. That means your opinion about me is nothing else but an opinion, which is
Mm.
where I feel home in myself finally.
I think what is important about what you are saying is that our mindset breaks us or makes us. Like for you, you wanted not to be bullied, you wanted to be loved, you wanted to be accepted. So you have some skills, whether at sports, whether at being, um, you know, thinking differently,
Yeah.
which means whatever we put in our mind to do, we can do it.
Yeah. It's incredible. It is unbelievable. It is that simple. And the only thing that's holding us back or levitating us towards where we want to go is a belief, which is just
Mm.
a string of very thick, if you look into neuroscience, very thick path of neuron pathways that is hard to break because that's what we believe. And I
Mm.
give you an example. As I say this often in front of my clients and also the workshops I have. I say, let's imagine two men waking up 4 a.m. and both of them go straight into some routines, and both of them is working really hard from that time of the day. And one of them is doing it just because he wants to succeed. The other man is doing it because his daughter is under cancer treatment and he has to pay for it. Who do you think will work harder and longer? Number one and number two. Of course, it makes logical sense, number two. And,
Yep.
and that shows that one belief or situation changes everything.
Mm. Yesterday, I was watching a YouTube interview for a Lebanese lady who was on Dubai Blink, and she's really famous in Dubai now. She said, growing up, she wasn't the popular girl, but she said she put in her head she wanted to be the funny one, and she started to memorize jokes and to pretend that she was funny, and she was able to make friends because she was very reserved.
Ah,
And this is a bit of fake it till you make it, even though it's not very healthy. But here again, it brings us to the power of the mind.
absolutely. I actually believe, I would say, fake it till you make it. Well, no matter what, you are faking everything. Everything is just a story. So, if you look at, for example, let's have Jim Carrey as a great example, a very
Mm.
famous Hollywood actor. Even Jim Carrey had some crazy openings. And he was in this documentary where he was playing a role of a figure. And he was playing it so intensively that he literally forgot who Jim Carrey was. He was the other guy. And he had to use psychotherapy. He had to use all kinds of therapy to get back to Jim Carrey. And then when he finally found back to Jim Carrey, he said, Jim Carrey has a depression. That's unbelievable. And then his depression was back. So my point is, fake it till you make it. I don't believe that is dangerous. I believe it could be dangerous if you don't have a strategy behind it. So that means if you have an reactive coping mechanism, okay, then I get it. Then it's not thought out. But if you actually, so you can do a conscious self-creation, and that's what I coach people in. I just literally give them something to do over a period of time, so they start to change what they believe, and then they start to act differently. It's incredible.
Mike, just to understand you a little bit more and to understand your journey, at one point in life, you had a lovely car. It was a Porsche. Something minimal was wrong with it, was not working. You went and bought another one instead of getting it fixed. This is a sign of what did you want
It's
to say? That you were filthy rich or that you
no.
weren't mature? Like, what was the message behind it?
I think the message behind it was irresponsible. I was irresponsible. And so my lesson was the following. It's very simple to make money. It's much more simple than you guys think. You make a plan, put up a schedule, and you just do what that schedule says, no matter how you feel. And in the end, you're going to make money. The hard part is to keep them. The hard part is to keep the money. So you can say it was that immature. Well, I don't know. I think it was irresponsible. And the message I was trying to bring there was that I want to know how it feels to just do whatever I want to do. And it
Mm.
came with a consequence, like everything else. It has cause and effect. And actually, I had several cars, and I did several
Mhm.
stupid things. I did many stupid things, but that was my learnings.
Now you are able to make money, but now would you say that your vision, your purpose is different?
Yeah, so one of my biggest struggles at the moment is to know the difference between force and power. And because I have been running and try to explain on that, if you have to force something through, it's probably not right. But you can use power. That's when you go into a flow state. So what I'm in a process of letting go completely of my old self. And I still have some strings left, which is the one that wants to be rich. He wants to be rich so much because he believes that on the other side of that is happiness. And I haven't learned from the past mistakes besides on a conscious level. So I'm in a process now of just completely surrendering to my purpose, which is to do what ignites me the most, which is to help people recreate themselves into a stronger version. And right now, to be fair, and rich is also relative. It's very relative. Rich for you might not be rich for me, etc. And it has no end, to be honest. So I'm in a process right now of letting go of the transaction and closing deals mindset. And now I'm very aware of building relationships and serving. And that just is a different game.
You talk a lot about Bob Proctor. Did you get to meet him at all? And what did you learn of him?
No, I was not so fortunate to meet him, but I did work and became friends with one of the people he had worked very closely together with. And he was a Danish guy called Anders Hansen. What I learned from Bob Proctor was my first way into the new thought movement where Bob Proctor was born from. So I was not always, but I've been very curious when I read about someone and I looked at someone, I wanted to know where they had their information from. So I start
Mm.
with someone and I figure out who have been mentoring them. I read about them, who's been mentoring them. So I go backwards. And what I learned with Bob Proctor was that thoughts are things. And I learned that the new paradigm, of course, he opened up my mind to thinking frequencies and thinking in quantum physics, which also opened up a completely new area that I studied a lot. So that's what I learned with Bob, that be careful what you think. You have to be a guard of your own mind. And that was what he taught me.
Yeah, because I always say he needs enemies when we have our self talk, because no one is harsher on us than us, isn't it?
Oh God. This is our biggest enemy. It is our self-talk. And to be honest, I invented a process that could never you can never kill your little voice in your head that tells you all the bad things you should do. But you
Mm.
can learn how to listen to the voice that tells you all the right things to do. That's what I call the voice of the universe or the voice of God. And I call it our conscience. So
Okay.
to live a conscience congruent life, it demands incredible detachment. I could give you a funny example of thoughts
Mm.
and how powerful they are, so you guys can understand. So
Mm.
when in when I have a good week of getting new clients on board and selling the programs I'm selling, we're probably making around 25, 30,000 euro. So that's compared to an average person, that's a lot of money. Yet still, a couple of months back, I was in a process of developing on myself. I'm constantly in a process of developing myself. But then I was going to this grocery shop, and I just started really intensively to do what my conscience told me. And I'm going there, and outside of this grocery shop sits this little nice lady, and she's been there before, and I never have cash with me to give to her. And then my conscience said, in my mind, it said, bring her, take her inside, put stuff in her, let her put stuff in the basket, pay for her. And then my other mindset, which is whatever program I come from, you don't have enough money for that. Are you fucking crazy? Don't do that. And I was like, stop. And I learned just to act on the first thought. So I brought her in and I said, go crazy, please just take everything. You have kids here, take for your kids here. And then while she was walking around, the other voice in my head said, look what she's putting in the basket. What did she put in the basket? And I was like, this is incredible. Like what? Wow, I have more. I go out on a dinner 10 times more than she puts in that basket. But still, I realized that voice have had a control over me, which is what I mean about self-talk. And then I developed a process to my clients. I said, just listen to the conscience. And it could be everything from pick up that sock, hold that door for that lady, call that person and say, I'm sorry. And when you start to do that more and more, your life will change because it literally tells you exactly what to do.
Yeah. For me, I find the hardest things in life are two things. One, if I stop dreaming. Two, if I have many regrets. And here I think of a saying that Ed Milet said. He said, the ultimate pain in life would be to meet the person you could have become.
That is extremely on. I love it, Millet. He's amazing. And yet we still, as human beings, we're the only race on this planet that is fully aware of our death. But we treat it as we are never gonna die. We treat our life as we are never gonna die. That's why we eat shit. We are so short-term thinking, immediate gratification controlled.
Yeah.
That what he says is so right, but it's the hardest thing for people to learn.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
Mike,
just really quick on that one, because for
yes,
us to develop the best person possible, we have to pay up front, and that's what we don't like. We are in a capitalistic system. We have been programmed to first we get the pleasure, then we pay. On a restaurant, you pay for the food when you're done with it. But life is different. You first have to put in discipline. In other words, you have to build the character before you build the bank account. You have to build the discipline before you build the body, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But people wants the body, not the discipline, right? People wants the bank account, not the character.
Yeah, my nephew is 20 now, but when he was, I think, about 14, he had an app on his phone where when they send him something, he needs instantly to acknowledge it. And he was a school student. Can you imagine the anxiety? Because they would encourage kids to be as quick as they could. For me, this is evil. And this is very dangerous. I'm very happy that he didn't stay long on it because it was driving him mad. He'd be in class thinking, are they messaging me now? Do I need to acknowledge them?
Yes. It's funny when you mentioned that example, because one thing I've learned is, there's a rap song going on since the 80s that more money, more problems. More money, more problems, right? And I tell you what it is, because I believe that the world is really lacking spiritual discipline.
Mike, you are an international author, and I am now holding your book that is Above Average, The Science of Achievement. You wrote this book out of frustration in a month and a half. What can you tell us about it? And what is something average that people are doing that is killing their potential?
Yeah. Well, first I wrote, so all of my books has been written out of frustration. So I wrote one book that was Start with the Habits in Danish. And that was because when I started coaching people, I just didn't understand why people were so weak, was my mind, right? Why is people so weak?
Mm.
They want to lose weight. They come in and they say 10 out of 10 and then they just not doing it. So I didn't understand that. So I wrote a book to help them. And above average was not because I matured and I figured out people are not weak by choice. You know, they are
Mm.
subconsciously weak because they're drawn towards comfort. And
Yep.
then above average was written because I wanted to tell people directly, you are doing this. It's better if you do that if you want this. And that's what above average is. So it's literally just a book that teaches you exactly why you're doing what you're doing, your subconscious programming, and how you can reprogram it. That's it.
It is a roadmap.
It is a roadmap, yeah. And actually, I'm about to finish my fourth book, which is I wrote that in 4 weeks as well. I had a lot on my mind, and it's called The Reset, and that is a book that where I come clean with all my darkest secrets, all my embarrassments, all the mistakes I did, and how I rebuilt myself through a very simple self-development process. And that's the
Mm.
book I'm coming out with now. And I think my drive in writing books is through my own development and through my own realizations and from experiencing of coaching others and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
I am not a coach. I am a therapist. I work with people, sort of coaching them, but not quite. And I do teach at university. And I was talking to someone one day, and I said to them what I love about teaching. I am going back to the basics, plus, I am learning because when students ask questions, it could be something that I had never thought of. For you, how much do you learn from coaching?
Oh, every day. Oh God, I know nothing.
Yeah.
I know nothing. That's how I approach it. The knowledge I have on top of my imposter syndrome, sometimes I struggle a lot with my imposter syndrome because sometimes I'm afraid that people's going to figure out that I'm fake. That's how much imposter syndrome I have. Sometimes I wake up in the morning, I'm like, you're nothing. But and that also opens up a curiosity. So when I coach people, my sincere curiosity about them is actually exactly what helps them because I
Oh.
am just as interested in figuring out where is the blockage as probably more interested than them. And sometimes when they ask me questions and I can't respond to it, I'm straight up. I'm saying, give me 24 hours. I'll have a good answer to you, but right now I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, because no one knows it all.
No, no, and I think I know what happens in that relationship with my clients is they can see I'm
Mm.
authentic and that I'm in
Yeah,
it together with them. I'm actually interested in helping them. And if
yeah.
someone always have the answer and also have this ego controlled approach, I believe you lose a lot of authenticity in your coaching.
Yeah, but also this means when you mention something good about them, it means that you are being genuine with them.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
You talk a lot about the neuroscience and about the plasticity of the brain, which means we can learn new things, but also we can unlearn old habits. What is one belief that you had to unlearn?
That becoming rich is happiness. That was one
Mm.
belief, and I'm still working on it. So it's a very deep one, deeply rooted in me, um, which involves a humongous amount of surrendering. So one thing I learned for the last couple of years is that again, there's a big difference from using your force and using power. Like if you look at Nelson Mandela, he was using power.
Mm.
Power. And that's why people followed him because he didn't force this. He
Yeah.
just stood his ground for something that was in high frequency and good for the humanity. That's power. And to be fairly honest, money has no emotions. It can both be good and bad. It depends on the
Mm.
person having them, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I wanted to be rich was for me to gain something. So I was forcing it. While in the process I am now, so in other words, I needed to be rich for feeling something. Today I'm more towards I want to be rich, but I'm okay by not being it. And that
Yeah,
is the detachment process. And the funny part here is in the moment I surrender to that, money comes. And it's how the universe works. If you chase something, it runs away. But if you still have your intentions of getting it, but you okay where you are, then it comes. It's magic.
because money is energy, isn't it?
It is. It is energy in your pocket. Before it was, hey, I have a roof. Can you fix it? Then you can get some milk from my cow. So we were switching energy. Now it's more like, I don't have a cow, but here's $20. Put it in your pocket and use it for what you want. It's
Yeah.
energy.
In your early 20s, when you had the money, you were on drugs, you were partying, you weren't happy?
Yeah, I was extremely happy. It was fun. Like, I
Yep,
would
of
never
course.
say to, I would never advise anyone to take my path, but neither would I try to stop people from it because I believe people have to go their way and do what they want. But I can come and tell my story to inspire
Hmm.
people. But yes, I was super happy until I was not. Until
Yeah.
I was not.
So when did that lifestyle stop giving you what you really needed?
That's a great question. It stopped giving me what I needed when I realized that wasn't what I needed. So I believe love was that. And then I came to the conclusion there's no love in this. And
Hmm.
then I was addicted. I was addicted to the highs, both in experience. I was addicted to that. It became a habit loop where, as soon as I was drinking beers or alcohol, I connected that with drugs right after, and I connected that with having after parties. I connected that with having a lot of sex with a lot of random people. But suddenly, my conscious started to when I came off it, the withdrawal effects. It was so violently aggressive, negative talking to me that I stood at one point where that was where I had my biggest breakthrough. I remember I've been partying for 48 hours. I even write this in my book, and I'm looking myself in the mirror 5 a.m. in the morning, and I'm having these withdrawals. And in my bedroom is two girls, in my couch is a girl and a guy and a dog, and I didn't know who I had been with. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and I didn't like what I saw. I hated what I saw, and the self-talk in me there was so brutal, and I considered to jump off the balcony. I wasn't going to do it, but it really came to my
Yeah.
mind, and that's when I knew that there's one I can make one choice here: either I change or I jump, and that's where I
Hmm.
started my process of soberness.
You always talk about that voice. It was always present in your life.
It was, yeah, it was.
And
I believe it's something we're all born with. So this is what people can't explain. Jordan B. Peterson also talks about it. It's a voice that comes from within. So we are love. All of us are love. And we all
hmm,
want each other good. And then it all depends on how much the ego takes control over us. And that is why we have to go into the ego period, and then we have to develop us out of the ego period, which is, I believe, is a rhythm of life. And my conscience just started to I think I was called upon so I could use my abilities to increase their awareness in the world. That's what I believe, at least. It helps me. And that voice was present in me. And yeah, I can't even, for example, if sometimes when I wrote some of my books, I tried to use some creative, we can call it drugs like weed to open up my mind. But even that gave me anxiety. I just felt I can't touch it. It's wrong. So I just skipped it. It's out of my life. I can't touch it. I don't feel good with it.
as a partner and as a friend, are you a good listener now?
I am a good listener, but there will be points where I'm not. When people are
Yeah.
full of excuses and self denial and in a place of their life where I feel they are way too much in a victim position, and whatever I coach them with, they don't move, I have a hard time listening. But I'm a trained coach, so I can go through it. Luckily, many people don't stay there. But yeah, if I'm at a dinner table, if I'm out of my profession, then I'm a
Yeah.
horrible listener to victims, a horrible listener. And that's what I'm working on. I know I need to work on it. Humility, I know I need to work on it, and I'm working on it. But oh God, it's getting to my ego. My ego is violent there. Sometimes people just need you to listen,
Yeah.
you know? Sometimes people just need to listen. So the older I get, the stronger that part of me becomes because now I'm aware of it. So I can't work on something I'm not aware of. And now I will call myself conscience incompetent.
Well, and that is good. Knowledge is power, isn't it?
Yeah, if you add it with action, absolutely.
We all want success. How do you balance the hunger for success, but without burning out?
Yeah, I don't believe in burning out.
Okay.
I just don't believe it. It's a perspective. So the way I avoid burning out is that I avoid doing things that I don't appreciate, that I don't like. So
Aligned.
yeah, so I'm very aligned on my purpose and my mission, and it's very tough. Like it demands a lot from you. But because I love it, then there's no
Mm.
option. I can't be burned out. I've been burned out before, and at that time, the reason why I got burned out was because I was doing things for a wrong reason. While today I do things for the greater good, and I feel a meaning. Again, when you do something that is meaningless, I think you can burn out. But if you do something with a meaning behind it, you can thrive.
Mm. You are a human being, which means you do have your ups and downs. When you feel like this is too much, when you feel like I'm not too sure if I can use the word quitting, what do you do? How do you get yourself out of that zone?
Yeah, you're spot on. The journeys I have very high ambitions because I know it's possible. So I
Mm.
expect a lot from myself. And I can be in periods where I want to quit every day. Sometimes I wake up, even still, and this is going to sound wrong, but let me explain on it. I don't even want to live. It's so hard what I have to go through in a day that I
Oh.
just don't. I just don't want to live. Like it's not that I want to kill myself, but I don't want to live. But what I do is I have constructed some routines that brings me into higher frequencies, which means I wake up early and now I have implemented to sit and speak with God or the universe and I just talk with him. That helps me a lot. And straight into an ice bath and then straight into read something positive and then straight to the gym. So I'm implementing willingness and acceptance
Oh.
straight from the morning. And in the moment I do these things, it's just I'm okay, now I'm ready. Okay, now bring it. I did this again. So I'm stacking my wins, which makes me strong throughout the day. But there will be times where I just want to quit. What I do in the moment when I quit
Mm.
is I allow that emotion to be there. Recognize it, and I said, it's all right, you want to quit. But I deep inside I know I'm not gonna quit. I'm not gonna quit. So I'm just allowing myself to complain and sit with
Yeah.
myself and talk bad with myself. I allow myself that, and then it's
Yeah.
gone.
About 18 months ago, I was attending a business workshop, and the trainer said, if you run your own business and you don't say a few times a day, that's it, I want to quit, I want to go back to being employed, then you are not doing well.
Yeah, that's so
So,
true.
according to him, you are doing really, really well.
Yeah, and that's it's a valid point for all the listeners because what I have learned in my 39 years, or I would say maybe my 5 years of full awareness, is that success is not supposed to be a comfortable procedure. It
Mm.
is not. And this is exactly what the tutor or the mentor you had said. It's not supposed to be comfortable. And if it is
Yeah.
comfortable, you are not growing.
Yeah.
And I related a lot with all the that, which is also why in my coaching program, in my philosophy, that the first step you take is physical discipline. I bring in physical discipline on the first step because that's where
Yeah.
you can manifest your actions really quick and you can see the result, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes when you're in the gym, I was just today, it's Monday, and I had a leg training before I came here with you. And I'm not looking forward to that. I do not like to
Mm.
work out my legs. I think it's the most terrible thing to do because it's so damn hard. But then I'm reminded, well, that's where growth happens. Muscle growth
Yeah.
happens in the pain. And it's the same with life. Pain is beautiful when you accept it, as you said.
Mm. Another bomb of a truth that mentor said on that day, he said, how you do something in one aspect of your life, this is how you do everything. So if something is not working, look at yourself.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And
And it
that I
was a
believe,
very hard pill to swallow.
oh, it's a hard truth because what you do somewhere, you do anywhere. That's what they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, in all reality, what it all comes down to is the standards we have to ourselves. So we are all running on some pre-programmed standards. So people,
Mm,
I always tell people to raise their standards. Then they ask me, how do I do that? It's very simple. You just remove the standards that you shouldn't be tolerating. That's how you raise them. So what have you
mm,
been tolerating to yourself for too long that you know you shouldn't? Remove it. And doing that process of removing it, that's tough. So, for example, it could be something as basic as binge eating in the evening, right? It has become a very normal thing to do with all the processed foods and the entertainments there is. And if there's something I was struggling with was in the night, I used that to calm down. But in the end,
mm,
my goal is not to be a binge eater. I can't be someone that I'm preaching people not to be. So
mm,
I had to not tolerate it. What did I do? So one of my biggest fears for my ego is boredom. I just have a hard time being bored. And then when I'm
yeah.
bored, I had been binge eating, I've been taking drugs, I've been texting girls. So what I do now, and this is incredible hard, but now I actually enjoy it. I sit with it. I
Mm,
do nothing. I do nothing. So when I'm bored, I'm just like, oh God, okay, here it comes. Let's just experience that. So I witness it instead of being it. This is a big detachment. So I sit with
mm,
this boredom and I know that I am not bored, but my physical body is bored. My brain is
mm,
bored. And I just
yeah.
witness it. So it's almost like I can have a little TV serial witnessing all the emotions going on, all the craziness going on, and all the crazy, bad, really bad ideas I get.
Yeah.
And I sit with it until it passes. And that's a great
Yeah.
technique.
Mm, true. And with kids, boredom is a great incentive for creativity.
Correct.
Like my kids are now 16 and nearly 15. When they were younger, and I used to say, no more devices, they would whinge. But then they would get a box, they would create things, they would have fun.
Yeah. Wow.
So boredom isn't bad, but yes, we need to sit with the feelings. I don't like to call them negative feelings because it gives the connotation that we can avoid them. I'd like
Got
to
it.
call them maybe painful feelings, whatever they are, but they are feelings and they
Yeah.
will pass. But we need to sit with them to be able to process them and then they will pass, definitely.
That's a beautiful one. I love that one. It's not negative, it's painful. Yeah, that is beautiful. Well said. I will thank you. I will take that.
Oh,
And
thank you.
that's also again what I love what Marcus Aurelius he said, if it's endurable,
Mm,
then do it. Stop complaining. And it just rings
true.
my bell. So, for example, when I'm bored in the evening, and again, the world has become so convenient. So it's so easy not to be bored. You just stuff some stuff in your mouth and you're not bored. You are in an euphoric, wow, it tastes great. Mm. But so when I heard that quote in my mind, I said, okay, Mike, it's time for you to grow further. Now sit with your boredom. And it was just ringing a bell. If you can endure it, then do it. Stop complaining. And I was
Mm,
just sitting, okay, I would feel it. What happened was it took me around 10 to 15 minutes in stillness of agony of I wanted to get out of that. And then I actually, wow, this is so nice.
you just
What a,
rode the wave.
it's just, it was just intensity dropped down. I was like, wow. And then actually, that's when I invented to go to bed early. So I promote to wake up early and go to bed early. And that is, everyone is in the world will be like, what? Where's all the fun in your life? And I said, I can tell you, all the fun you having is what pulls you away from your goals. So if I'm in
Mm,
my bed 10 p.m., I'm not having all my vices. I'm sleeping them out while you're having yours. And I wake up. So who has decided that we have to go to bed at
yeah.
12? Well, nobody. So I just changed my lifestyle.
Mm. I guess for you, what is amazing is that you are allowing yourself to experience new feelings, like to sit with the uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a big win for me. It was, I believe, and there is a saying, what I see, I forget, what I hear, I remember, but what I do, I know.
Mm,
And as a coach, life coach, or you can call me breakthrough, you can give me many names. I have a hard time coaching what I don't know. So if I meet, it's hard to coach intuitively on theory that you haven't experienced. So
mm,
because I've been through so much pain, that makes me automatically a good coach if I want to utilize that. But there's areas I haven't gone through yet. So if I meet clients who are going through stuff that I can't relate to, I am literally trying to put myself in their shoes physically and emotionally to see what it is. And boredom was one I never noticed. There's so many of my clients, and I tell them, well, you do that because you're bored, right? They're like, yeah, yeah. And I know that now. Before I didn't know.
yeah. Just to finish off with your book, can I ask you to read the last sentence if you can see it for me, please?
Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Microdor is proof.
I love it.
Yeah, it's so. For example, the journey I'm on now, I'm about to build my coaching brand, and it's frustrating. It's very hard. It's such a long game, and many times I want to give up, and I'm just like you. Fuck it. I'm gonna go back to just being an employee, because 1 month you make money, 1 month you don't.
Yeah.
And I'm just reminded, you've been through this before, Mike. You know what to do. Keep doing what you're doing. And I love this one. There was a guy, he said, and I think it was Jerry Seinfeld, the actor, Jerry Seinfeld. He said, all you got to do, you got to find something you love doing. And all you got to do is just focusing on becoming better at that every day. That's it. He made it so simple.
Yeah.
But here comes the world knocking on our door. Pay the bills, do this. And that's
Mhm.
why I say more money, more problems. Because the more money and commitments you have with money, the more in slavery you are, because you're not free to find your purpose. And that's also why
Mm.
I advise a lot of my clients who wants to be entrepreneurs, I advise them to lower their lifestyle, to build up a savings so they have a runway of 6 months to start their business so they can do nothing else. And when
Yeah.
I lowered my lifestyle, my life became more peaceful.
Mm. See, you are really awesome that you get to feel it. You get to say, all right, I have experienced this. Let me try to see the other side, the
Yeah.
flip side of the coin. And that needs courage.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about you and we will continue talking about you, but we cannot not mention your 1 year old daughter.
Yeah.
She's so beautiful. What can you tell me about becoming a father? And are you concerned for her? Do you see yourself being overly protective when she grows up?
No, and also to let the listeners know the situation is, so the mother and I, we're not together, and my daughter is 14 months, but we do have a great relationship. We didn't have that. We were in a toxic relationship, so the decision came where a very toxic situation happened in the early stages when she was born, and I decided to take that as an exit. So I don't see my daughter every day, but I can tell you she's the best mother in the world. My daughter can speak, she can count, she speaks 2 languages, etc. But I am not afraid at all, because the philosophy of my ex is let them experience it and grow from it. So my daughter is, when she hits herself, she runs around. She just started walking a couple weeks back. When she falls and hits herself, we're not like, we like up again. We don't show
Yeah,
her panic. We
yeah,
show her you can handle that. If it's too much, we comfort her. But she's a mean little machine. She hurt her head, and she's like, ow, 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 ow. And then she looks at us, huh? And she continues. So I believe in that philosophy a lot. But one thing that really changed me, and she was the biggest, you have to be a father to know this, because you don't know until you know. But when she was born, that was when my biggest transformation began, because I felt now I did something that was for a greater cause than myself. And I promised myself to show my daughter, but let me just say the world, the daughters of the world, how great men can be. And this is I
mm,
have this in my mind all the time. And as soon as I have my, my old habits and my old ways of reacting, I just get that voice, show how great men can be. And that is a beautiful little, because there is a little break between stimulus and response. There's a little space between that. And that space is now filled with show my daughter how great men can be. And it literally, it directs me in all directions. So I'm so thankful for both my ex and all the, I believe every person that comes to your life and might not hurting you because they want, but you end up being hurt or they take something from you. I believe it's
Yep.
angels sent to
Mm,
teach you something. And I have learned more the last 5 years, and even more just when my daughter was born, that I'm so
mm.
thankful for that situation. Yeah.
Yeah. I must say, I take my hat off for you because you and your ex were in a toxic place. But now, and even in your videos, you speak so highly of her. And it was a story on my Instagram yesterday. I said the best gift a father could give his kids is respecting their mother, whether
Yes.
they are together or not.
Oh yes, yes. I took a decision to have unconditional love. So, in the process
Mm,
of forgiving myself, I forgave everyone around me, and I forgive her. Even if something happens now, she gets frustrated. She's a human being, for God's sake. She will
of
be
course.
frustrated. She will have
Yep.
different ideas than me. I forgive her completely, and I'm not the same person. So thank you for seeing that. The most important thing in the world right now for me is my daughter, and anything that will support her growth, I will do, and loving her mother, of course. So she has her healing process, and that will take
Of
time.
course.
And
Of course.
I fully respect that.
Yep. Last November, you went to Nigeria.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that business trip and how important are connections in business?
Well, I was invited from one of the other authors of Survive and Thrive, Dustin Planthold, and he invited me to Nigeria to have a speech and be a part of the Global Entrepreneurship Festival, which is one of the biggest ones in the world. It ended really well. I met a humongous amount of powerful people in Africa, and I actually ended up becoming a part of the board. So I'm in the board now of 2025, which is going to be held in Ghana. And connections is everything. It is everything. It's both for the good and the bad. And one thing, when you're starting to be more philosophical, which I have definitely started to be, you tend to isolate yourself because you fall in love with knowledge and you fall more in love with books than you do with people. But in reality, I'm actually hanging with people. I'm best friends with Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius. I read about them every day, but they won't open doors for me. So you need to be out there and be at networking
Course.
events or meet people. But I will say one thing that people should be very careful about is what companies you dive into and you connect to. Because my biggest downfall was my allowance to hang with people with very low standards in areas of their life, and I became like them. But it is everything. Network is so important. I wouldn't sit on this podcast here if we were not in the same network. So networks opens the doors, which is why I say when you show up somewhere,
Yeah,
make it this decision to be the best version of yourself. And people, what is the best version? The best version is the one who gives. Don't expect anything in return. Just give. And when you do that, people will remember you.
because karma exists. It will come back.
Yeah, it will come back, but if you give to get, then you won't give
Of
again. You
course not.
you
Yeah.
you have to give. And the most beautiful thing to be in a networking event, of course, you can give your story, you can give a joke. You don't even have to give something. You can also buy in your mind. Just give them love and peace and harmony just by looking at them. That's giving as well.
What are you currently working on and what future projects can you share here?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm working on transitioning my business to be international. So I've been operating in Denmark for 3 years, and I've been coaching and mentoring entrepreneurs in self mastery, self control, or temperance, as they say in Stoic language. And now I'm building, together with my new book, which is called, it's probably going to be called The Reset. I'm building a program where I'm going to promise people a bold statement that I can rebuild them from any situation within 90 days if they just follow my model. So I'm
Mm.
sitting and building that model right now, and that's going to turn into become an open program where people can sign up and come in and get coached. Because in all reality, there will be in every part of period of our life, we will be broken. We will break down. It could be in a relationship, it could be loss of identity, it could what we are broken. And I just want to build a system that rebuilds them.
Are you that confident that if people followed the 90-day suggestions, they will get there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Just as confident as Tony Robbins were when he said, give me any person and I will cure them in 1 hour. Yes, I am very confident. This is 90 days. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What would you like to end our chat with? What are your last thoughts?
Well, I would just want to say thank you for amazing questions. And it gave me a really good feeling and I wanted to talk. So I just want to compliment you and say thank you so much for hosting me.
Oh, thank you, Mike. You are awesome.
You are awesome. Thank you.
Where can people find you and connect with you?
My Instagram is where I'm mostly active. So my Instagram is just my name, which is Mike Radoor. And please send me a DM. People think that when they get a text from me, it's from AI. It's social media. I don't put AI into my social media. I'm constantly in my DM and I'm using my social media as what it should be used to, social. So I'm sharing
Mm.
most of my thoughts, my craziness, my vulgarian language, and all these crazy things I'm using on my Instagram. And please find me there and text me.
Mike Radoor, thank you so much for your time. Take care.
Thank you very much.